The main reason for why everyone is hyped about Wuthering Waves is because of the stellar combat gameplay in Punishing Grey Ravens, which is also an ARPG mobile game made by the same devs, Kuro Games. Now I got selected for the Wuthering Waves CBT and I've played about 8 hours today. Here's what I think about the game so far. Let's start with the movement. Wall walking feels really good, even though it doesn't look really smooth when you're watching someone else's gameplay. But when you're actually interacting with the buttons and the walls, it actually feels really good. So I think they just have to improve the animations a little bit and it will be much smoother. The grapple cord is also a really good mechanic. It's very smooth and I think there is a lot of potential, especially because in future with raids they can create environmental platforms and mechanics with the grapple cord, which could be very interesting. But the main thing I really want to talk about, which is like the highlight of this game, is the combat. The combat is amazing. Dodging is not super easy for boss fights. You just kind of have to learn the timings, and the window is much shorter than PGR, but it is very satisfying when you do start dodging every single mechanic. And in my opinion, parrying is the most fun combat mechanic. The parry windows vary a lot for each boss and you have to learn how to parry on each character as well, but it's very satisfying when you do learn everything. You also can only parry on melee characters so far, but you can use echoes that have skills that can parry on ranged characters in case you want to do that. QTEs or Concerto Effects are a cool mechanic. They're not like elemental reactions from Genshin, but more like buffs, so your skills still matters a lot for how you use the Concerto Effects. Echoes are also a very cool mechanic in combat. You can collect so many of them, and whenever you get a new echo, you want to try them out in combat to see what's their skill and what can they be useful for. So I love that they added this echoes mechanism, and they should definitely expand on this system a lot more. It's one of their strengths that really differentiates them from Tower of Fantasy and Genshin. And collecting these echoes is a great experience because as you collect more, you upgrade the terminal, which is the gourd that you see, and this improves the RNG, which is a really good system because it gives you an incentive to explore the open world, and you don't feel like your time is getting wasted when you go out of your way from missions and start fighting enemies in the open world. You can simply explore the world as you want and you get rewarded for it. It's great. You also get to collect audio caskets and turn them in at the relic merchant, which is also a very good experience so far. Something they copied from Genshin. It's very similar to Oculus, but caskets in comparison are very easy to find because they give out a sound, and the rewards that you get for turning them in are really good. So you're actively looking out for these audio caskets as you're exploring the open world. The graphics look really good and they've done a very good job on it. The music is also pretty good, but I think looking at what Kuro has done in PGR, they have the potential to do a much better job. They could do so much more with this. And I think it's just because it's CBT that it's not as good as we hope it to be. But the thing that they absolutely nailed in the CBT is the sound design. Sound design is incredible. Everything feels so satisfying in combat. It's really well done when you parry, when you dodge, when you land skills, when you go from one place to another using the grapple cord. Everything feels very satisfying. Sound design is amazing. The character design and art style. In my opinion, the anime art style for the characters is quite distinctive from other anime games, but I'm not really a big fan of the design of some of the characters. They feel a little plain and boring, especially if you look at female Rover. She's kind of boring. Environment design wise, I think the environment is beautiful in certain areas and it looks very pretty as the time changes, but they can do a lot better job than this. Kuro has the skills to actually do much better than this. I expect a lot more, but it's a CBT, so it's likely to be very bare bones, but they definitely need to change a lot of the environment stuff. Now, onto the negatives of the CBT so far. The story was really boring. to go through without any voiceovers. Translation also had a lot of typos and didn't make any sense sometimes. You will also sometimes encounter random Chinese text in dialogues, which is placeholder for missing dialogues, but they could have just translated that as well. And they didn't do that. The mouth animations and cutscenes also look very unnatural, but the biggest issue I had was not being able to skip the dialogue in the story, which is like, the dialogue is so verbose and there's so much unnecessary text. Just let us skip the dialogues and cutscenes, Kuro, please. The questing was also very boring. Like, doing quests and dailies is extremely boring. There's too much dialogue and going from one place to another, and you can't skip any of it. Fast travel saves some time, but I don't really like this part of the game so far. Animal interactions, when it comes to like petting the cats and dogs in towns, it doesn't actually pet them. Like, you can't actually pet them. They just do an animation. It's a huge issue. They need to fix this. And when it comes to the UI design and typography need an overhaul. The design is very inconsistent and it does not look very good. It also doesn't feel as immersive as a technical test UI, but I think they can create a completely new UI which is better than both technical and CBT UI, and it will be much more immersive if it's thematic and feels like it's part of the world. But the worst part of the CBT and the systems that everyone has been complaining about is the gacha system. The 50-50 gacha system that they took from Genshin is horrible, and on top of it there are weapons in the banner too. This absolutely needs to be changed. This cannot be shipped. They copied a lot of parts of Genshin, but this is like one of the worst parts to copy. It took me like 70 pools to get my first 5-star, and it was Jueyuan. And it just feels bad to lose that 50-50. And also, like, having to have 70 pools to get your first 5 stars is just so long. I truly wanted Yenden, but she's not even in the banner right now, so I don't think anyone can get her. But I'm hoping they will give her for free in a few days. And the game also feels like a Genshin clone, right? Like, people are saying it's a lot like Genshin, and it did feel like I was playing Genshin sometimes because of how many systems there are that are copied from Genshin. As I'm exploring the open world, it feels like I'm playing Genshin, and I'm in that kind of mindset of playing Genshin. And when I get into battles, suddenly it's like, oh, you're playing Wuthering Waves, not Genshin. You have to dodge stuff, you have to actually parry stuff. So that mental model of Genshin does come in when you're doing stuff because of so many systems being similar, but they're not all bad. But I think Kuro should use those systems as an inspiration rather than copying them outright. So I hope they change that by the next CBT. But my overall impressions of the CBT so far are that the core gameplay mechanics of combat, echo collection, and open world exploration are really well done. But the rest of it needs a lot of work. And I want to try out the endgame mode to give a better review of the difficulty, but the game is definitely decently challenging so far. Also, shout out to Kuro customer support for solving issues within a few hours of server launch. I had some login issues and they gave me new login credentials within a few hours. Their staff and Discord mods have also been very responsive in the CBT Discord channel, so shout out to them too. And I'm excited to play more tomorrow. I'll be streaming on my Twitch channel, so follow me if you're interested in watching my playthrough. Thanks for watching, and here's the best part of Wuthering Waves. Tutor.